It's game day, Warchant game day. Thanks for joining us as always. Happy Saturday morning to all of you who celebrate. That would be all of you, I would think. You're a college football fan, Florida State football fan, if you tuned into this, or maybe you're just a huge fan of Tom. Either way, you're here and we appreciate that, which is wonderful. Thanks for being here. Florida State Clemson tonight. So I guess I could maybe issue a Cat 5 if you were so inclined early in the morning to pop a beer, because it is a 7 o'clock kick. We can't be doing that. Can't be doing that. Oh, you're not doing that, Tom Lang.
No.
I know you have one there sitting because you're a golfer, and by law, golfers got Fireball in their bag because that's the way the world works. But you had to bring that in because somebody gave it to you and you weren't going to drink it.
No, I might tonight if they win. If they win, I'll have it. But no, I was on the elevator last week. It was Halloween, and one of my residents here that doesn't live on the penthouse level said, "Would you like a free Fireball?" And I had googly eyes on it, so I took it. Yeah.
And you said, "Well, a free Fireball it is." Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. Years ago, and we'll get to talking about Florida State Clemson in just a second, as in 2 years ago, I was on the golf course with you, and somebody brought Fireballs for us. You and I did not drink it that day because I think we had something to do that evening. Nonetheless, I didn't want to waste it. So remembering not to throw, to take it out of the golf cart, I put it in my glove box as I was driving home. Didn't think anything of it. Sometime later, my wife opens the glove box up as we're driving down the road. She's like, "Do we have a problem I need to know about? You're just sneaking Fireballs in and around the car here." Okay. How we feeling this morning? All right. I saw where somebody drove from, Pennsylvania, I think it was, to the game today.
Yes.
And you're watching this show. Makes you a good man. Thomas, good luck, buddy. Let's hope Florida State shows up and plays well tonight. It's interesting as the week has gone on. You kind of do get a sense that Clemson fans are worried that Clemson isn't going to show up. Like I've been monitoring that very closely, watching their boards, listening to some of their podcasts, some of the interviews that they've done. I know Eric McLean pretty well, good guy. Knowledgeable guy, does a great job, I think, for the ACC, is efforts to be as fair as you possibly can. And, he all but admitted in an interview this week that he thought that this was kind of broken at Clemson right now, that this was a situation where Dabo is clearly kind of challenging the administration behind the scenes. The administration is looking back at Dabo like, "Yeah, why don't you win a game, man?" And so the tensions are rising there. Now, trying to take that and apply it to tonight and how the kids will react when the game starts is always a difficult thing. And you don't really know for sure. But if it's as disjointed and convoluted behind the scenes as it seems. And then obviously we watched Clemson with our own eyes, especially this week, and going back and looking at some of the other games, you do see these pockets of play that resemble last year's Florida State team. And you think, well, that ain't good, because I know I lived through that. And so that's the fear that's bubbling up in Clemson, South Carolina. Of course, the other side of it is they've got dudes. They've got real good football players, and they're littered throughout the lineup, and guys that have done it before and have played at a very high level and who are projected to go in the NFL draft this year. So if they do care and they do lock in, you wonder what this game looks like tonight. And none of us can know that until they take the field. I said earlier in the week on the Jeff Cameron show that I think it's important Florida State have some good things happen to them early. And I thought that was true, Tom, when we lined up to play Wake Forest last Saturday night. I felt like you needed to get off to a decent start. You needed to get off to at least a neutral start so you had a chance to begin to feel better about yourself and believe a little bit. And early on, it was two boxers kind of involved in a boring fight, just kind of jabbing and really not sure. Do you want to be here? Can you? Okay, maybe I'll hit you. Maybe I'll hit you now. And then all of a sudden it happened, and Florida State began to believe. And once Wake Forest got down a couple of scores, you could call it a day. I think for Florida State tonight, something good has to happen relatively early, especially if you're going to invoke that sort of response from Clemson that we've seen, where they just decide no mas. Then you're gonna have to get off to a good start.
You could definitely see the start of this game be a redux of the Wake Forest game, in which both teams are trying to feel out who wants to be here, who wants to play. That would not stun me at all. I do think that of the two teams, it's obvious that Florida State feels better about itself than Clemson does in the moment, but one drive can change that either way. Be it a 3-and-out to start the game for either team, or they go down the field and they score and they take the lead. As Mike points out in the chat here, last week was the first time we scored first against a real opponent, even though it wasn't until the second quarter. Need to get out in front tonight, echoing what you're saying. But think about that. Even the Alabama game that turned out so well for Florida State started with a marathon drive for the Crimson Tide to go up 7-0. Whereas last week, finally against a power opponent, Florida State gets on the board with the first score of the game. I wonder if we see Florida State feel sure about itself in the first quarter tonight. That is the thing I'm looking for. Did the Wake Forest result mean anything, or did it not? And the first quarter is going to tell you whether or not there was a moment in which there was a shift in confidence and belief, and they shook off the here we go again-ness of what was happening in a 4-game losing streak. The first quarter is going to tell you that clearly. It's important to note that the way the Wake Forest game played out last week, the way it started, was not something that Florida State ran out of the tunnel with a ton of energy and defiance to back their head coach. They needed to ease their way into the game. I don't think you're going to have that luxury tonight. You should go take it rather than see what happens and then decide in the second quarter.
Yeah, I brought that point up at the beginning of the week because I knew that certain fans would see the score and say, oh, we really brought it to Wake Forest. Not really. Not really. It kind of ballooned to that eventually. It took its sweet time. But credit to Florida State. Once they had some opportunities and they saw a hole, they ran through it, and they got to a place where they could really put their foot down on the neck of Wake Forest in the second half. And they were physical. I thought Florida State was physical in that last game. That was a nice sign that they were locked into play to some degree anyhow. I don't think you can bring that kind of physicality if you're not prepared to play. So they'll have to do that tonight because, again, Clemson is always pretty physical. I understand that they have lapses and they make mistakes on defense and they give up big plays. And in particular in the passing game, they do that. But they are a physical team. They've always been that under Dabo. I've appreciated that about them. And so, again, you're right. I think it's a good point to make that you're going to have to take it. It's not going to be given to you. Some teams, when they're reeling, will give it up. They'll just, hey, you know what? We got to get through this because it's another game on the slate. Others will play hard and see if you're willing to match, and if you are, then okay, they'll subside or walk away. But the passing game tonight, Tom, it's gonna be very interesting to me. I really am curious to see how Gus Malzahn decides to attack this game. All of the tape, all of the evidence, all of the numbers and the analytics tell you to throw the football against Clemson. And the problem with this offense, and I'm not going to harp on our problems. We've got several things that I don't like that we do, but we've committed to it. When you bring in a Gus Malzahn, you're not bringing in, as I say, a very sophisticated passing game. It's not hard for defenses to figure out your route tree, if you will. So it is all predicated on the ability to be able to run. Now, obviously, misdirection and some trickeration and things like that are part of what Gus brings to the table as well. And maybe some of those things will work tonight early, and then it won't matter. You'll open it up, and we'll see what happens from there. But this isn't a case where you can just say, oh, I'm looking at the numbers, I'm looking at the matchups, I'm looking at the film. We're just going to drop Tommy back and let him throw it 25, 35 times in a game. Bottom line is that's not what Florida State's offense is. It's not what he does well. If you put him in that position, you're putting him in a position to fail. If that's the modus operandi, if that's we're going to spread you out and throw it, that's just not what we do. So it'll be interesting to see how they exploit Clemson's secondary, which has been porous, with the offensive philosophy that we have.
I think you can also exploit their second level, their linebackers and their slot corners or safeties, depending upon how they want to line it up pre-snap. If you have some counterflow in the passing game, it can't be bubble read option. It has to be something like you set up a forward screen, but that's not really the play, and so you're going to swing it back the other way. Think about the third down in overtime against Virginia, that type of a call. Or play action rollouts where you have somebody as an outlet pass. Kind of more traditional misdirection plays. Think about another example. If you're a longtime Florida State fan, what did Miami score with for years against Mickey Andrews' defenses?
Well, tight end.
A tight end drag to the backside of the play. You've got forward motion, and then there you go. He's on the other side of the field, usually the left, and he'd be standing wide open. That kind of stuff you can counterflow against even the linebacker level for Clemson. Gus does have some of those elements in his offense, but will he call them? The thing about Gus that drives me nuts so far this year, and I know it was a complaint before he got here, but it's the same plays, meaning that there doesn't seem to be opponent-specific plays built into the game plan. It's, I'm going to run this reverse, I'm going to run this bubble look, we're going to run vertical shots, and then we've got our base plays out of tempo that we want to run on first and second down. If you were going to install something for an opponent or break something out for an opponent, this would be the one where you get Tommy rolling out against the flow of a play-action run. I think you're going to have some explosives available to you underneath. And I think in general, you're going to have downfield shots open to you either way, no matter how you want to play it against Clemson. You just got to hit on them. And with Tommy, that's a coin flip proposition at best each week. He did it last week against Wake. Can you do it again today?
Fresh from Florida in the chat. Good job. It's true. Gus's offense gets worse if you throw more than 25 times as long as he's been a coach. Yeah, it's not a passing offense. To me, it's an option offense. You just have to understand that this is what you're running when you run Gus Malzahn over to your sidelines and decide to make him your offensive coordinator. I was against it. So obviously most times when we talk about it, I don't come across as somebody who's particularly enamored by it. It doesn't mean there aren't days that it works. There are. His entire career, he's had these moments where when he gets it rolling, it's almost as if it goes downhill for defenses. They're in real trouble. They're on their heels. If he can play at tempo and he can have success on first down, and he can run this offense at peak efficiency, and it can look like a world beater. It's also the kind of offense that becomes incredibly predictable and very stagnant when he's not able to run the quarterback and he loses first down. When you lose first down and you're second and long, second and behind the chains, all of a sudden this offense is predictable and easy to defend. So it really is one of those hit or miss offenses.
Yeah, I think one thing that you can look at too is 2 years ago in that very building, it was an early kickoff. Jordan Travis had to decide in the second quarter to take that ball game over with his legs. And he had several plays. It started with a pass to Trey Benson on the back shoulder and a third down. But this key drive that you had that seemed to break the dam, at least for a moment, because the second half offense wasn't great either, was Jordan had to use his legs. There was a fourth down play that was, I think he had a pass option, but he decided to keep it fourth and short, move the chains, red zone, 20-20. It didn't matter. He decided he was going to put the team on his back and run the football, and he was going to take some punishment along the way in order to make that happen. Tommy's going to have to make that choice today. He has not been as willing to run. Even the touchdown run that he had last week where he's rolling out to the right, you could tell the way his body language was as he's rolling to his right. It's the last thing he wanted to do, but it ended up being open, and then he had a blocker along the way. He makes the play. If Tommy looks fresh today, that changes everything. Find your best Toradol and put it on the plane and put it on the bus. Tommy needs to be fresh with his legs. If it's possible, he's going to have to be a big part of this game plan on the ground, and he's going to have to make the choice to do so. He has been reluctant since he got hurt earlier this season. It would be a huge boon for Florida State. And let's say you see that the first, second drive, then potentially can get very fun with the proposition of where you think Florida State's offense can go, total yardage, total points.
Thomas, I'll answer your question. We're having a little fun on a Warchant game day. Any places that you recommend while I wait for kickoff at Clemson? If you're at Clemson proper, you can go to the SO Club. You can go to the Tiger Town Tavern. If you're in Greenville, where a lot of people go, then there is any of those great bars downtown. I love most of those bars. Tom, you and I have visited some of those. And anywhere near the minor league baseball club, there's some good stuff. You can go to Sloan Street Tap Room is really, really good too, around Clemson. So there you go.
The one we were at, if you want some good juju in Greenville today, everybody, is the Liberty Tap Room and Grill. That's where we were when Bill Murray pinned Lee Corso to the ground in 2013 for the game day presentation. And obviously that night turned out pretty good. I will also say, Thomas, as tailgate situations go, Clemson is first class, first rate. You will find few fan bases with better hospitality than Clemson fans. So if you just want to hang around in the lots, they're going to be really good to you. I've never had a bad experience with Clemson fans.
Typically, that is true. Typically that is true. Yeah, I've had a couple people have some incidents, but I haven't as well.
Oh,
So,
really? Oh,
yeah.
that's disappointing to hear. It's always been amazing when I'm up there.
That's any fan base. It happens. I just it's if you run across the wrong group and they've had too much early, you never really know. But enjoy yourself, guys, and be safe up there and have a lot of fun. And enjoy it. Enjoy what I hope is another win for Florida State. And what that opens the door to, I don't know. That's been the difficulty this past week and the week before. We've had a hard time trying to figure out what any of this means the rest of the way after a 4-game losing streak. I just know, like you, at its core, rudimentary, if Florida State's playing a football game, I want them to win it. That's like really at its core where we're at. I sit down and I think, all right, we're playing the game. Let's win said game. That'd be cool. And we'll sort it out later with all the stuff behind the scenes about, changes, yes or no, and when would we find out, and all that stuff, which is certainly hotly contested these days amongst the Florida State fan base anyhow. But yeah, let's worry about trying to get a win tonight. We'll see. Jeff and Tom, injury update came in on ESPN app. FSU players good to go. Is that what that is?
Game time decision. That's James Williams. So Thamel talks to Norvell, clearly. I mean, he's been doing that for a while.
Yeah, that's the reason Thamel has the job, not to besmirch Thamel, but he's connected to a lot of coaches. He's done a good job with that.
Yeah, so James Williams is a game time decision tonight, and then Javon Boggs is unlikely to play. Well, I mean, that's nothing terribly new at the receiver position for Florida State. But James Williams, yeah, I don't remember him getting hurt in the Wake Forest game last week, but he was an injury designation as questionable on Thursday, so that would track. And that's unfortunate because he had his best game as a Florida State Seminole, not named the Alabama game last week.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think it's the same task going up against Clemson offensive line as it was Wake's. I don't know that they'll miss James Williams tonight, Tommy. I'll just say it that way.
Well, I thought he was effective against Bama's front. Look, he didn't cash with TFLs or sacks, but if you talk about havoc rate and flushing the quarterback, he did an effective job of that against Alabama. But I would agree. I mean, it's not like you lose Jared Verse in pregame warmups. So we'll see what Florida State does to devise a plan for Klubnik, who hasn't really run too much this year. There's only a couple of games in which he's used his legs. He's capable in that department. But I wonder, is that just something that they don't want to do this season? Is it because Cade is on the brink of an NFL career, and so he doesn't want to run? That'll be a fascinating subplot to watch, too.
Cade, when you watch him, has moments where he is so good, just so good throwing the football and stepping in and letting it fly, and then other moments where you're going, man, I don't know what you're doing there. It's really kind of the story of his career at Clemson. The best version of Klubnik is a good player. The worst version is maddening, I would think, if you're a Clemson fan. Sometimes it's rogue, sometimes it's wildly inconsistent. It's fascinating.
We have not been world beaters on defense, so I'm not trying to say that, but let's just take a look at his game log. Against LSU early in the season, very good defense. 50% completion. Against Georgia Tech on the road, 57% completion. The last few weeks he's come to life, but, I mean, he's faced North Carolina, Boston College, and Duke, where he's had nearly 100% completions before he was.
But I will say this, Tom, Duke's defense coming into that game is a good defense, so that was kind of surprising.
Yeah, it has been it has been much better than the other teams I'm mentioning, that's for sure. And last week he did go for 385 and at 75% completion percentage. And Antonio Williams is back in the fold for Clemson. He had a big game at receiver. That's somebody who's been a thorn in Florida State's side, 2 touchdowns in 3 games against Florida State. I think he might have been inactive 2 years ago. But with Bryant Wesco out with an injury, Antonio Williams has been leaned on a little bit more. Maybe that's the natural connection they were looking for offensively, because Klubnik and he have had chemistry.
Well, and Williams is a projected NFL guy, so it doesn't make me happy to hear that he's back. And a listener in the chat is right. Klubnik did have that high ankle sprain a few weeks back, even missed a game. So, maybe that's why he hasn't wanted to take off and be the normal kind of mobile quarterback that he's been in the past.
That's fair, but I mean, you go back to even Syracuse and North Carolina about a month ago. I mean, he just doesn't run. Now, against Georgia Tech, they ran him a lot, 17 for 62, and then he ran a bit against Boston College, 9 for 48. Last week, not so much. So, yeah, I mean, if you've got somebody that you can you don't have to work extra like he's Ty Simpson to cage him in there, that also can help you. It'll be interesting to see, again, the way they lost last week. Just because their offense has been going good, does that mean they're still invested this week? Klubnik has shut it down on Dabo and that sideline before. You mentioned going rogue. He also has been somebody that's been a problem in the locker room since early in his career. We know that because in his first season, there were whispers from connections we have up at Clemson that the O-line didn't necessarily love him. He had some attitude problems in the locker room. I'm not trying to create a problem for Clemson, but what I'm saying is they have enough problems, and maybe this is the week where things shut down, not just in the places that we have seen before today, like the secondary on the defensive side of the ball. You have to be on quit watch everywhere for Clemson today. That's why the start's pretty important.
Klubnik and Dabo don't like each other. I mean, let's just say it. I mean, you see it all the time. Go back and look at the evidence of him jogging off the field with Dabo trying to talk to him and him not responding, or trying to slap him 5 and him not slapping him 5, turning his back several times. They've had heated exchanges. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say they don't like each other. I don't know if it's a personal thing or not, but as player coach, they have a frayed relationship.
Well, what Carson Beck does to Miami receivers, Dabo Swinney does to his quarterback.
Every week.
I mean, he will go to the media and tell the media about all the things his quarterback did wrong, which is not normal. That is not normal behavior.
It's not ideal either, because you are undermining your starting quarterback to the rest of your team every time you do it. So then you wonder why there's a contentiousness between him and players. Well, it's exuded by the head coach. So that's a real problem. It permeates the locker room at that point. Clemson on the year, just so you know, when we're looking at Florida State's offense against Clemson's defense, we've seen it time and again. If you're looking to have success, it's in the pass game. Their EPA per pass play is 56 in the country. Their early downs, they give up at the pass a lot. I would throw on first down a lot, Tom. That's not what we necessarily love to do, but they're 75th against the pass in the country on first down. They'll give it up on neutral downs is the point. And so we'll see. You look at them in the pass game, it's a problem all year long. Now, against the run, they've been very, very good. And we've pointed out all week long defensively, when you're running the football, they are top 35 in the country. Third down and short, they're top 30 in the country. They're physical up front against the run. So it really kind of plays to the numbers that you've got to be able to throw.
I totally agree. And the reason they're good in third and short is even the passing game that's around the line of scrimmage, they rally and they stop. So that's the thing that if you're going to throw on first down, it can't be bubbles. It's got to be something more than that. It doesn't also have to be a shot down the field. There is this area in the middle of the field between the hash marks and in terms of depth at about 5 to 15 yards that we don't seem to use a whole lot, but this would be the time to do it. This is the hallmark of this Clemson defense is if it's in front of them, they will make the play. But if it requires a little bit of extra effort because you can get past their first line of defense, the defensive line, you might have something there in the way of an explosive. It didn't generate for SMU or Duke on the ground at all. But one thing I'm interested to watch is Florida State's offensive line against Clemson's defensive front. I think for once, Florida State's offensive line is not a liability. It's not. In most years, we'd say, well, you're not going to win there, so let's find another way to work around this offensive line, which is a travesty. I think that unit's okay, and it's going to be interesting to see that test early on. You don't have to be in 2nd and 5, but 2nd and 7 will do, and that opens up a whole host of possibilities. The one thing we've been awful at as an offensive line is first down runs off of tempo. It has been atrocious. We're in 2nd and 9 all the GD time. What I'd be interested to see today is maybe if you do get a first down or an explosive, you run tempo. Let's look at maybe a pass in that situation instead of running between the tackles.
My greater concern in this game is Clemson choosing to throw the ball on first down against Florida State's defense. Like we're both pointing out things we think we can do and things we don't like, and matchups we think that are behoove Florida State to exploit, and others that we're kind of worried about. Our defense against the pass on first down, when teams throw on first down, neutral downs, is terrible. It's just terrible. We're in the lower 80. I think we're 80 something. It's just not good. And if I'm Clemson with their offensive line and Florida State's inability to get to the passer, a defense that, frankly, when it's faced a good offense, hasn't gotten stops. As the year has gone on, this defense has gotten worse against teams that can really move the football, that have a pulse on offense. Clemson certainly has a pulse on offense, and if they care to be there and they exploit this secondary and they spread us out and throw the football, I think it could be a long day. Again, it's a big if, but I think Clemson really has the pick of the litter here on first down when they have the ball on offense, because Florida State against in early downs against the run, not very good, and early downs against the pass, not very good. Something like 79th and 70th, so it ain't good.
The thing is, I'm not terribly worried about Adam Randall on the ground. I think we'll commit forces to the line of scrimmage because you also need to for a pass rush purpose. So I'm not necessarily worried about the run, and we'll see. Maybe they do, and that changes everything. It's TJ Moore and Antonio Williams in the pass game that scare me, and Moore is a downfield threat. I'm worried about Antonio Williams in the red zone and gotta have it plays. I think Klubnik will go there because he knows what he has in that player. But Moore over the top, that's the explosive guy. And if he's matched up against not Jabril Rawls, that could be a problem for us, and you could see some plays like the Miami game. Again, this is such a hard game to handicap as we're going into different finer points of what we do when we're on defense or we're on offense or the opposite for Clemson, because Clemson is the variable here. I think you're going to get a baseline of effort and play out of Florida State today. I know they haven't shown that with consistency on the road, but this is Clemson, and they are coming off of a win. I think they're going to be locked in and ready to go. Clemson is the variable. If they don't care, all these names we're mentioning
don't matter.
If they do, all these names that we're mentioning are going to be highly productive today.
None of the prediction models and all of the things that we do when you conduct a pregame show where you're just talking about the numbers and the matchups and areas where physically you're strong or weak and they are, and you try to match, none of it matters if a team has decided to mail it in. And that's the whole thing about this, is like, look, man, in theory, Clemson has better players than Florida State. Well, they just do. They have better players than Florida State. In theory, if they play their best game and we play ours, they're better than us. But that's not the way these games have played out, because obviously that would have held true for Clemson against everybody they've played this year. And they've lost 5 times. So, they have better players than Duke. They have better players than Syracuse. They, again, time and again, they have the better team. This is why they're called upsets. This is why Dabo's having to tell everybody about how great he used to be. It's the frustration that they feel because they have the ability to beat all the teams that they've lost to. So it can be irrelevant. It's nice to know those things, and we try to posit those things, because if you get the best version of them and you get the best version of us, then sort of the matchups and areas that are in our favor and against us. But it is all in theory, like we say, because if they don't care to be there, none of it matters.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at last week's game against Wake Forest. We knew, and we were talking about it at Hotel Indigo, the fine sponsor of today's program, that as we were asked the questions, what do you think happens today? And our answers were, if they show up and they play hard, they're going to beat Wake Forest because they're better. And then after the first quarter happens, as we have a guest on the show, after the first quarter happens, Florida State did just that. And they took control of the game. And by the middle of the third quarter, you understood that this was going to be rocking chair central, because Wake didn't play with a ton of aggression on offense. And so we took the ball and we took the game away from them. Clemson could do the same thing to us this weekend that we just did to Wake, if they care to. However, the difference is we were kind of in defensive mode early in the game. Wake hit some explosive plays, and they were called back for penalties, and that settled everything down. Well, if Florida State is in that position in the first quarter today, and they hit on explosives, there are no penalties, and we're up 7-0. You get a stop, you get down the field, you go up 10-0, buddy. This could be a big day for Florida State, and it's one in which you walk away winners on the road at Clemson 2 times in a row, which would be something else. But I think this game could play out either way. It could go just like it did for us last week against Wake Forest, where we play the role of the Demon Deacons and they play the role of the Noles. Or it could be that their fans are throwing stuff onto the sidelines. They're yelling, screaming, fire Dabo. And we have the moment that we all knew and the country understood that Dabo is not going to wear that hat again next year for Clemson.
I love being a part of things like that. Normally you watch it, on the right side of history there. I love those moments if you can have it happen. We saw it years ago, you and I down on the field for Florida State, Florida, where the infighting was happening, where Florida's players were telling Urban Meyer to F off as they came off the field. I'll never forget standing there and looking over. What were the twins on the offensive line? The
Pouncies.
The criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys dropping F-bombs at Urban as they came off the field because he was mad about something they had done during that drive. And I thought, oh, well, they're in trouble. This is they've got culture issues. It's fun to watch that kind of stuff play out. Watching Miami get beat 47-0 by Virginia or whatever that was down there in the Orange Bowl, where half their team in their history was on the sideline to watch it, and just decided we're not going to play tonight. We're going to go ahead and close the Orange Bowl by getting beat 40, whatever that was, to nothing.
Yeah,
which was one of the great nights in college football history, I might add, because there were so many former great Canes there to just take that in.
Yeah. The next game that was played there was a Marlins baseball game,
That's right. Yeah. I love that. It would be cool because it is the ultimate in Schadenfreude where you get to celebrate their inflection moment where it's just all done. It's all gone. It's all over. It's been real, everybody. What a run they had. Goodbye. We'll see where he ends up and where half these players transfer to, because this is a wrap. Yeah, I love watching that when it happens, but I get nervous it's not going to happen because we want it to. So, that's one of those things. It's you'll be watching very closely early. Everybody goes into this game with a little, you care to be here?
Hey, we are all watching this game hoping that our teams win. That goes for both sides of this game today, but we're all watching for the subtext and the drama too. Both sidelines. If you could have a reasonable conversation with, again, many folks in South Carolina tailgate just fine. I mean, this is a great day to have a conversation. There isn't a national championship or an ACC championship on the line, so you don't have that pressure and that bloodlust that permeates the tailgate lots. We usually want that, but in this case, because it isn't there, you could have a fine conversation with a Clemson fan about the future of the sport, the future of your own program. Do you want the current head coach who's leading out of the tunnel tonight to be the head coach next year? It's fun. This is it's not the thing I want to talk about, but it is not without drama. We all understand the subtext that's going on tonight.
Let's quickly hear from our friends at Hotel Indigo before Tom and I come back and wrap it up, and we talk a little bit about what we're going to eat today while we watch football.
Hey, this is Jay Green from Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Can I stop and say thank you? Thank you for telling your guests to stay with us. Thank you for hosting your corporate meetings and social events in our rooftop meeting space. Thank you for hanging out with us on FSU football game day. Believe it or not, this sales guy isn't selling anything. I just want to say thank you. But if you've never seen our rooftop and I can ever help, give us a call, 850-755-9011. We are Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. Welcome to our neighborhood.
Enjoyed watching Luke Laux and his staff guide Florida State to an easy victory last night at the TLC Double C. A little shout out to Noles basketball. Next up, obviously, the University of Florida, the defending national champions in Gainesville. A little bit different test.
Fantastic halftime interview from Luke Laux before he went into the tunnel. And he said, they're about to hear it from me in the locker room. If we play like that against Florida, we'll be down by 50. And I was like, okay, Luke, I love the intensity. And apparently the message was delivered. LeJay Jones was asked about it after the game. He had 20 points, 12 of which were like in the first 5 minutes of the game as he hit 4 3-pointers. It's good to see. There is a refreshed feel around that hoops program. I don't know if that's going to help us next Tuesday when we hit the road, but still, it's good to see. And a 2-0 start, 2 games over the century mark for the Noles.
Yeah, nice to get some wins, and obviously they have announced their presence with authority in regards to style of play. That pace is something else, and so we both think, and we have said before, I think they're going to win some games they shouldn't win this year based on the on-paper matchup, and they're going to lose some games that they probably shouldn't lose based on the on-paper matchup. But this is the year one, and you're trying to establish a modus operandi, and I think they are going to do that. They're going to be who they are, no matter what. And then from there, you've just got to start putting better players and adding to your roster and build some depth. And so it's going to be fun. But they are – I'll tell you this. Wasn't a great crowd last night at the TLC-CC, which is disappointing, but it is a Friday night. It's early in the year. We're still in the midst of football season. I get it. But anybody that did go knows that it's fun to watch. I mean, they're not boring. They're not boring. Even when they go through these long droughts that they're going to have where the ball's not dropping, you're like, this is still fun. They're going to pressure you. They're going to get out and go, and they're going to take those shots. So we'll see. Now, the real question today, Tommy, is what are you eating as we build up to tonight's game? Because that's the whole thing, is pacing yourself throughout the day. And you got to do a post-game show. Mm-hmm. I'm officially done with any work in about 10 minutes. That's it. That's all. Like, I could, if I were so inclined, and I'm not right now, walk right out to the garage where there are garage beers waiting who are screaming out, Jeff, it's all day football day for you, pal. You have no responsibilities. I don't have to go pick anybody up from anywhere. I don't have to drop anybody off. I am free to be here with my wife and my dogs. My kids are out playing, doing whatever they're doing. I'm good, man. And so I'm going to grill a big old thing of salmon that I got, rub it down and get it ready to go. And then later on, maybe for a game time, we'll do a steak or something like that. So we're going to have good eats in the Cameron household today.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what I'm going to have today. I do know that I'm going to try and eat 2 putts. I've been putting a little poorly lately. I'm going out and playing during the noon window. And I'll come back home and then take a nice little pregame nap because it will be a late night tonight. So 2 putts are on the menu, maybe 1 transfusion, just 1. Can't be getting silly. It's a long day. And then I had steak twice this week. I know you can have it. It's not illegal to have it a 3rd time.
No, not at all.
But I had some delicious, actually top-cut sirloin that was better than I expected it to be. I was looking for strip steak, and they were out. I could get some more and whip up a nice one tonight. I do have the rub down, my man. I do have the rub down. The garlic salt is a nice blend instead of doing actually chopping up garlic.
Oh, yeah.
The garlic salt with just a touch of pepper and the olive oil to help it cook through is the way to go. So maybe I'm going to follow your lead there. I do have awesome mixed vegetables that I make as well. That's one of my favorite side dishes.
I got to tell you, Florida man in Alabama noting golf course hot dogs sound amazing. He ain't kidding. There's something about a golf course hot dog now.
Yeah. Also, I think a great band name would be the Turn Dogs, right? Because
Turn Dogs.
The Turn Dogs.
Or Dogs at the Turn.
The place I'm going, Dogs at the Turn. Yeah,
I like that one. Welcome, Dogs at the Turn.
Yeah, and Turn Dogs is the single.
Yeah.
The place I'm going is really slow at handling that.
Nobody has time for all that.
Yeah. So I hope that it's ready. I think you can call on 7, so I might have to actually make the phone call. Yeah. That's a good idea, though. Turn Dogs.
Turn Dogs. You're going to have to do it. All right. So do we think they're going to win? I don't. I'll let you decide between the two of us. I've already told you that I think that this doesn't go well. I think this could be a crowning moment in a bad way for our situation. I hope to be wrong. I certainly allow for that possibility given the way Clemson's played at home this year and what their mindset might be. And if that's the case, then good. We'll get a win, and it'll be fun to see. Hopefully it's because we also play well. But on the other hand, I have a hard time believing, and maybe that's cynicism. Maybe I'm jaded. I have a hard time believing they're not going to care about playing Florida State. Now, I'm sure a lot of opponents of Florida State last year thought to themselves coming into the game, well, I know what the tape says. I know what the record says, but they'll care. They'll play hard against us. And if they do, they've got good players, and this could be a scary game for us. Like, I'm sure many a fan of a team that opposed Florida State last year felt that way. And we could have told them, if we knew them, hey, Jerry, they're not going to play well. I promise you they're not. We watch them every week. They're not going to play well. So if you're a Clemson fan right now, you might be saying, don't worry about it, Jeff. You guys are going to be all right. Perhaps, but I don't know. I've been beaten down enough to say that place at night, they're going to care.
I have seen this movie before with Florida State 3 different times in the last 10 years with 3 different head coaches. Really, you could say 4 times going back to Bowden towards the end, when there is this much noise in the system. Usually that team, that is where Clemson is, finds a way to keep the game close at minimum, if not outright lose the game. And I feel like if Clemson doesn't run away from us, we'll take the game from them. I understand that there could be this redux of Florida State goes on the road and we're flat. And so
I don't think we'll be flat. I just don't know if we're good enough.
Well, but all that goodwill from last week it's turned into, in the first quarter, talking points of, good Lord, can we just go hit the road and play hard? Like, I could see that. There is no scenario that you could present to me right now, either in the chat or if it's you building it, that I'd say that's not possible. They're all possible. Every scenario is possible. I would just say that having been where Clemson is, specifically with a lot of talent that underachieves, you lose to teams that you have no business losing to on the regular. And I know that that's already happened to them in their building this year a ton, but it usually doesn't stop. You don't have this magical day where everything fixes. I think Florida State has a better mindset. They're in a more healthy mental place, as crazy as that sounds, than Clemson. Few teams are in a worse place mentally than Clemson. I think Florida State has a real shot today. I'm not calling for the win. I know I predicted it in the report. You have to be honest here. This game is impossible to call. It's almost like a bowl game where there's a lot of opt-outs. I don't know who's going to show up. I don't know who's going to care to play. But I do think Florida State has a better chance of maximizing what they are. I don't think Clemson will maximize what they are today.
I hope you're right. And I hope I'm wrong, based on my prediction during the Warchant report, which was a lopsided affair in Clemson's favor. Love to be on the air talking about why I was wrong and what it means for Clemson and what it means for Florida State, I suppose. That's something I'd really like to do. So I hate that we have to wait all day, but I love that there are a lot of games on, and I love being a college football fan so we can sit back and watch all of that. Appreciate you, Tommy, as always. Appreciate all of you who viewed Warchant Game Day and who were here in the chat. Good job, Florida man in Alabama. May the drinks and turn dogs be bountiful to the whole Warchant team. Thanks for another great week of content. You're welcome, and thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of it. You guys, take care. As always, go Noles. Post-game show, Tom and Gene, about 15 minutes after the game's over. So it'll be a late night. Who knows, Tom? Maybe you'll start the post-game show with 10 minutes to play in the fourth because Florida State's up 30-7.
I mean,
could it be?
I got to tell you, in the last 2 years, we've had more early starts because of blowouts one way or the other. We had to do it the other way last week because we were up big on Wake. So you never know. If the score is 3 or 4 spread, either way, you can imagine we'll be signing on in that 10 p.m. hour. So be on the lookout.
Good luck with that. I'll have to watch in the morning. Go Noles, everybody. Have a great day.